Hello and welcome, mourners, to the Dirge of Mourning. I am your host, Andrew, alongside today. Yes, she has returned from the proverbial grave. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at the Sombre with their 2024 release, Like a Dream Without Light. First impressions of this album, I'm going to say this. This is a gateway into funeral doom.
A gateway?
Yeah.
You mean like the gates of a cemetery?
Exactly. See, I knew you would catch on pretty quick. So, basically, if you were to, say to someone, oh, check this out, this is the kind of stuff that I more or less listen to. This is the kind of, album I would show someone.
Yeah,
these conversations... Not too in their face...
These conversations never go well with me, with other people.
Well, just in case you do. But no, this is something that, if you do happen to have those conversations, and they're asking you, oh, so what should I listen to? I would recommend this. Give them a taste of, the ideas of what funeral doom is, because it does hit all the key points that make up this awesome genre. The funeral doom opening is, amazing. With this, we have the feelings of, cemetery vibes coming from the music with its strings and guitar playing. Oh, love it. Love this little intro here.
To me, this music is totally different than any funeral doom I've ever heard.
So, I will explain all of that.
Okay.
As we progress through this.
Okay.
Because, again, not your typical approach.
No. I mean, I actually used the word ambient music on this.
I can definitely see that there are some ambient parts to this.
Yes.
So, we basically have, the overall, classical elements here that make up funeral doom. Its usual melancholy format.
Yeah.
That just sort of simply washes over you. We get nice synthesized parts with the band playing. But here's the part that most people are going to be really confused at, I think. And I think this is what caught you off guard as well. The spoken word approach.
No, that's not what caught me off guard.
Oh.
Sorry, but that was fine. I'm fine with spoken word. It's the ambient music that makes me feel like it's not like anything I've heard before. It's a very soft, atmospheric kind of music. It is not like the traditional metal-y funeral doom that I think we've mostly been listening to.
True. So, again, I'll explain all of those parts as we progress through this, okay?
All right.
So, when we get the spoken word that is accompanied by a beautiful piano, just love the way it was played, alongside the guitar notes. Oh, and just on a personal note, I fell in love with this immediately. This is why I had to pick this album to do, because I was like, yes.
Okay.
This was ticking all the right boxes for me. We get that sorrow... yet ballad-like tones.
Well, I did like the voice. I thought she, or whomever it was, had a very, very good voice for presenting the spoken word. I had no problem with that. That sounded great. I think you and I are going to differ on a few things. But that's fine.
Well, we'll see as we go further on here, because, again, as we come to the end of this track, now, just so everybody is aware, these are actually quite short songs.
Yes.
This song is only about 5 minutes and 11 seconds. So, again, not a great deal to go on, in terms of, what you're listening to, as it is mostly orchestrational, a bit of that ambient atmosphere, and some, guitar, bass, and drum playing, with some spoken word. But the track fades out as, at least for me, I was holding my breath for the next song, because I was just in this, oh... wow, this is amazing. Her voice is heartbroken. It all fits together for me. Now, this is truly different in terms of funeral doom, like you had mentioned before, right? For you also pointed out we've got more softer tones, just like in this song. We have soft guitar playing, piano, being accompanied by a bit of drums and that synthesizer, giving off a mood of nostalgia. This music is very nostalgic in its approach, especially when the spoken word is delivered. Breathtaking, just like the last time.
Yes, I mean, to me, the sounds, song to song, I don't see a huge difference in the music. Like, the music is pretty much the same throughout.
There are small differences.
There's one song in particular that I would mention when we get to that. You know, yeah.
No, again, there are different tones if you're, listening to it more than just like a quick go through. Again, I had to sit and listen to it multiple times to write all this down.
Yeah.
So, again, you're not going to catch all the intricacies straight away. Some of those intricacies do, again, lead to not just the voice performance, but in the little string parts that are, performed by the synthesizer. Mm-hmm. It gives off that very traditional funeral doom style in its, atmosphere that you hear a lot of bands use in, their background. Not just that, but the way that the band is playing as well is very sort of traditional doom style as well. It's just not got the heavier overtones. It is very soft.
Yeah, that's what's different. Sure.
I would basically consider this more of like a ballad approach to funeral doom, which is, I think, a great twist on the concept.
It's different.
Now, within saying that, this track, again, very short. We've only got about, 3 minutes and 58 seconds. And the song fades out, again, just like the last one. This song starts off with a truly funeral doom opening with the synthesizers and the bass playing and drums that are slow and melancholy in its approach. The spoken word is full of sorrow, is soft, and yet tragic at the same time. The song fades in and out, giving us a sense of uneasiness, and the anticipation sort of builds up in the song.
Well, I had an interesting word that I put for the music, chords, because I think what throughout many of the songs, it's like these chords that you're hearing changing. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, what's giving that sort of ambient feeling.
Absolutely. So the song almost has a sort of progression in its, its march forward. Kind of like a funeral march.
Uh-huh.
You knew that was coming, didn't you?
Yeah. The procession. Right.
But honestly, musically, this is going to surprise you. This one had me in tears.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know. I see, this is where you and I don't, and I'm shocked because I usually really am into
gravitate towards this kind of stuff.
Softer, yeah. And this one, I like this song. I have a lot of things to say about lyrics with these songs, and I think the thing you have to do with this album, I think you have to let it, wash over you. I think it's the kind that
Absolutely.
You should just lay down, close your eyes, relax, and listen to, which is not what I did. I did my usual, and, it hit me in an awkward way. Maybe my mood wasn't right for it.
Maybe you just weren't expecting a more softer approach.
I wasn't.
See, maybe if we had done something like, I don't know, like A Shape of Despair or something, maybe that would have been a bit more of what you were expecting.
Well, I'm going to say this one reminds me a small bit of Woe Unto Me. Because they do not sound like the typical funeral doom to me, but they are funeral doom. So I could see little things in there like that. I don't know. To me, I just sort of had that feeling.
No.
And you know I like One Wants Me.
Right.
You know I do. But
well,
anyway.
like I said, this one had me in tears, right? And this is where I fell in love with the album.
What, this particular song?
This one
okay,
got
so
me.
This one, I did write doomy feeling.
Yeah.
So it has to do probably with both music and lyrics. So,
yes.
anyways,
yes.
that's how I felt.
Yeah. So basically, the track comes to an end as it fades out at the 5-minute and 20-second mark. With synthesizer and guitar starting us off, with some added drums and bass lines that give a sense of understanding and sorrow, at least in terms of this particular intro, with some of the most haunting notes I've heard within Funeral Doom. Every note gives off that classic sadness, yet a comfort. This is the descriptive terms that I've come up with to describe the overall feeling that this song gave me. And again, not in typical fashion, and this isn't a typical review, because again, these songs aren't necessarily what I say most Funeral Doom fans would expect.
Right.
This is a different approach to this music.
However, we have, on occasion, come across single songs in other Funeral Doom albums that have this same vibe.
True, and I'll get to that more shortly.
Okay.
The spoken word comes in and delivers just pure art. I'm sorry, it is. It's just pure fucking art at this point. The drums and the bass are perhaps the standout point of this song, with the progression of the synthesizer and the guitar at the end giving it a sense of words I genuinely can't find. It's, again, like I said, it's comforting, it's understanding, it's miserable, it's sad, but yet they are together in harmony, maybe. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Harmony. It gives a sense of, like, that they are one and the same in terms of musically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's joyful, but depressing. But you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
There's that duality.
Well, it's funny, because when we get toward the lyrics, the lyrics are kind of like that as well. So.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah.
This is the odd track.
Oh, for sure.
This is more shoegazery in its tones and atmosphere.
Well, yes.
This is the experiment.
I actually like this one. I mean, I felt... We go ahead and talk about the music, because toward the end I want to say something about the ending of it.
Okay. So like I said, this has a more shoegazery sound to it, with the guitar tone, but does it give off any Funeral Doom elements? Outside of the spoken word, a little.
Oh, this is where maybe you and I are different. Because to me, toward the end, I'm just going to come out and say it, it has a harsher beat that I like. So you get that stronger beat toward the end. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Well, again, there are elements, like I said, that are Funeral Doom inspired.
Yeah.
So, with all that said, we basically get, the elements of, the music having that climaxy point, where it gets harsher. There is this mix of madness and anger, and it's death throes. One last breath, if you will, as the song comes to an end with a haunting, disdained note.
I liked this one a lot.
Normally, I'm not a huge fan of instrumentals.
Yeah.
Unless they serve, an overall purpose. But this track caps off a journey that I wasn't expecting to take. We have the sort of synthesizer, droning on type sounds with orchestration mixed in to give it an almost atmosphere of mourning and enjoyment is what I got from it. This song
for the music, I actually used the word somber. That this was somber music.
Oh, yes. I guess what I'm trying to say is this particular track completes the process of some of the stages of grieving that the music was trying to get across.
That's exactly how I felt throughout, that it was stages.
This is why I have to say it like this. This is how you turn dirge music into doom music. The track fades out like all the rest. So, overall, thoughts on the musical element?
Well, like I said before, to me, it just has a very atmospheric, ambient quality that I wasn't expecting. And I sort of miss some of the heaviness that I'm used to now. But it was done well. The spoken word is beautiful. If you are looking for death growls and beautiful, clean singing, you're not going to get that with this album. This is basically presenting lyrics or poems, we'll call them, in a spoken fashion with a background of music. That's basically what is going on here. So to me, that's kind of good in a way, because you know how much I like lyrics. It, to me, emphasizes that what's being said is really important.
Right, this showcases one of the lyrical attributes of the genre.
That it does.
So with that said, this is the fourth album from the band, The Sombre.
Wow. Okay.
And I have to say this about the music. It is both beautiful, mournful.
Well, melancholy, mournful, yes, it's somber.
Yeah.
It's the somber.
At the same time, unlike most funeral doom, where it's soul-crushing and brutal in some aspects, this one takes that approach of, like we said, the spoken word. The voice is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
It genuinely made me cry in parts. I'm not going to lie. It was an absolute thrill to listen to. In fact, it's on my top albums of last year.
Wowee.
It's I'm not going to lie, I'm going to call it number 2. It's my
this one
second
really
favorite.
Affected you.
It did. I loved it a lot, especially the musical element here.
It did not affect me like that. I don't know why, but it didn't. I was thinking it would when I first started listening, and it just did not. That's not to say it's not done well or done, it has a good message and everything. Put together well. It sounds professional. It doesn't sound like amateurs doing this.
Well, like one of the things that we spoke about earlier, we've heard similar things from other bands.
Yes.
Well, the two bands that come to my mind that have done something very similar, Lament Christ and Funeral of Souls, are the two bands that come to my mind when, listening to this particular style of funeral doom. And I'm also going to say this.
I definitely thought of Lament Christ because they did that. We reviewed one really beautiful song that was like this.
Yes. They had the full-on orchestration element with the spoken word approach.
Yeah.
And,
it was very
and I'm just going to put it out there like this. This could very well be the next evolution in funeral doom.
Wow.
And I'll expand on that later on.
White dress. To me, the white dress is a symbol of person. I mean, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a white dress. It's a symbol.
So the metaphor could be for anything.
No, I mean, it could be anything that could be a metaphor for the person. It doesn't have to be a white dress. I mean, it could be, if it's a man, it could be their shirt or coat or hat. You see what I mean? So, the lyrics on these songs are so short. I want to read these lyrics. And then
please
comment,
do.
because they're so short. Okay. White dress. I've kept your white dress. It lays on the bed. The sun comes in through the window. The light fills the room. I don't feel you anymore, not like I used to. I guess that even grief fades away. I still miss you. That feeling will never go away, but at the same time, I feel a calm, an inner peace. The light fills the room. I don't feel you anymore, not like I used to. Basically, it's just a simple study in grief starting to fade, just beginning to fade.
Right, so here's what my interpretation is.
Yeah.
And again, because I was mainly focusing on like getting all the musical elements done, because I knew you were gonna like do your normal deep dive into like what the meaning is behind all of the lyrics.
I don't know how deep, because honestly, this isn't that deep. It's
maybe not, but
a simple thought.
But when I read it, because of the female voice, I took it as this is almost like the character, if you like, remembering her voice and staring at her wedding dress. That's how I interpreted it after like just a quick glance of this. And now that you're pointing out that it's a metaphor of something, I'm like, I read that completely backwards, didn't I?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you can interpret it any which way you want, but, you know, it's funny. I've got some form of pop song where a person has left a person, and the guy is singing about how he glances on the floor and sees the woman's shoes, and your shoes remind me of you. So I think that's more what this is really about.
Yeah, like, I agree. Yeah.
Glance, you know, like when I see, I don't know, something my mom gave me, I'm like, oh yeah, mommy gave that, you know, something like that. It reminds me. And little thoughts flit through your head at that moment.
Right.
And I think this is a moment, one thought, this is it. It is that slight bit of grief fading. The feeling will never go away, it says, but at the same time, I feel calm. So, you know, this is a good thing, actually, what's happened. This is not really a bad thing. So, it is a part of grief, and it's talking about grief, but it's maybe the sort of good part of it in a way.
Right. So, again, there is this sense of, like, slight hope that you can get over the pain of losing someone.
Which is also, I'm glad you said that, because this is a very solid reason why people should listen to Funeral Doom.
Exactly.
Because it will help you understand things.
Mm-hmm.
Old House. And I love the titles. Their titles are so, they evoke nostalgic creepiness.
Right.
But anyways, here we go. I passed the old house where we grew up. Everybody is gone by now, but that old feeling is still there. I glance over the garden. It's not the same anymore. I stare at the house. It's not there anymore. I watched the autumn rains come in. I left again feeling the same regret and pain. So.
This is nostalgia personified.
Oh yeah. It's about revisiting an earlier time. Things, if you've ever moved and you go look at your old house, you go, what?
Oh yeah.
Of course, now where I used to live, it's the hood, and it really shocked me. So, but anyway, it's going back. Things are not the same. Okay, so the part that confused me in this song, I stare at the house. It's not there anymore. Okay, that was wackadoodle. Because first, I passed the old house, I glance over the garden. It's not the same. I stare at the house. It's not there anymore. Okay, is the house torn down, or is this, or possibly, it possibly could be, or could it be that even though you're seeing a building that was your house,
it's been completely redesigned.
Yeah, it's not right. It's just not.
Right.
It's not there. Yeah.
So those were the two thoughts I had as well. Has the building been removed?
Yeah.
Or has someone completely changed it?
Yeah.
To the point where it's unrecognizable.
Right. And another thought just ran through me. Could it be a sort of a play on words? It's not there anymore. Meaning the feelings aren't there anymore.
Holy shit, yeah.
You know, it kind of like my life isn't there anymore. It's not there anymore.
Right.
So that
could be fuck. That brings a whole completely different meaning to this. Holy shit.
I know. So it's kind of...
Because my original thought...
I mean, you can take it on any of those levels.
Right? But my original thought was, you've got someone walking past their house, going, oh yeah, I remember being there. And then sometime later they return, and it's either not there or completely different. They don't remember it being quite like that. You know, that whole nostalgia trip concept. But now, you could flip it on its head and say, the house is a metaphor for how they feel inside.
Right.
Again, another stage of grief.
Right.
You don't feel the same way you did once that person is gone, or once that feeling is no longer there. These are far more deeper than I think we gave it credit for. Yeah.
The lyrics are really good. I enjoyed reading the lyrics. They're simplistic, and yet they're not.
Right. There's an approach to this.
Yeah. You know, another thing, did this person actually go to that location, or are they just sitting somewhere thinking about it? But...
Because they could be looking back at old memories, photographs and stuff, going, oh yeah, I remember there. And, how some folk will sit there and go, let's look through the family album and go, oh yeah, I remember when we used to live there and you were only 7, haha, fun. Those memories coming back going, I just don't feel like I did back then.
And
things have changed.
Yeah, at the end they do mention, I left again feeling the same regret and pain. So, once again, they're still grieving, they're still missing someone or some people or whatever.
Yeah, whatever took place here has left them in this grief-stricken place in their life where they cannot shake it quite yet.
And it happened at this house.
Yeah, this location of some sort.
Right. Without light. Similar to the name of the album. Because they're short, gonna read again, so you all can get a gist of it.
Awesome.
Some days I feel new again. I feel the sun on my skin. Feel the wind in my hair. I have sense of purpose. Not this usual feeling that something is about to end. Some days I see no light. Only the gray of passing days. Clouds, the sun, the stars, all lose their magic. When this all-consuming fear strikes, I think of you, only you, like a dream, but without light.
Christ almighty.
We have lyrics that, okay, so there's sort of a flip-flopping going on. The flip-flopping of feelings. So,
which is typical within grief.
Yes. It's kind of like, you might have a good day, might have a bad day.
Exactly. I think that's what this is sort of touching on.
Or hours even can change. So this is the one that I felt had doomy lyrics because not this usual feeling that something is about to end.
That's some powerful shit right there.
Yeah. That's where I get my sense of doom, impending doom, right there.
Right. See, there you go. That's what it's all about here, folks.
And then they also reiterate that with the all-consuming fear. All-consuming fear. That's strong. Also, the ending, like a dream but without light, they're not saying it's a nightmare. They're saying it's like as if you're in a dream, but it's not a good one. It's without the lightness. So
it's not the nightmare.
No, it's a sad dream. You know, have you ever had a sad dream where you have a sad dream, you wake up crying? I do that sometimes. Like, I'll have an actual sad dream.
Oh, yeah. This is, again, very, common in people that have lost someone.
So, anyways, those were my thoughts on this very doomy, this one's got the sadness to it.
And just like said earlier, this is the one that had me in tears. And I think it's clear why.
Yeah. And I felt that it was really solid. Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, I think as you progress through the lyrics here, we're going to see it all come together.
The sun will eventually rise. Oh my. The sun will eventually. So you think, oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Okay. I'll read here. When you miss me, think of the good days. Think of the days you felt understood. Think of the nights you slept so soundly. Those days will eventually come again. I understand the days are dark. The nights must be terrible. But even without me, the sun will eventually rise.
So can we all agree that basically just takes your heart and goes, yeah, fuck you, stomp?
So what you have here is the dead consoling the living.
Right.
So it's pretty simple. It's not, to me, there's nothing complex here.
No, but it's fucking effective in getting you to feel like utterly miserable.
Just tell it. Okay, so the dead one is telling the living one, remember the good times. Basically, just think of everything good. Stop dwelling in, I understand the days are dark. The nights must be terrible. But even without me, the sun will eventually rise.
Right. So basically, again, it goes back to this element that I don't think a lot of people realize. Within the lyrics of Funeral Doom, there is this concept of you can get through this.
Yeah, there's a sense of hope.
Right. You will not be in this perpetual downfall of misery and shit life.
Yeah, no, It doesn't stay forever. Right.
Right. The irony, of course, is, yes, others will pass away, but, again, you can get through it. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. Hence, the sun will eventually rise.
Yeah. Yep.
You will see another sunrise. It is okay to feel sad some days and feel happy the next, or within the same minute.
I think this album in particular is talking just about that. That,
yes,
all the songs really, that, you're at that point where half and half, do I dwell in this past forever, or wait a minute, maybe I want to go do these things that are with the living,
right?
So you're struggling, but it gets easier.
Exactly.
Last spring. A quiet walk in the setting sun, a last gaze into the sky, the gentle breeze of a spring's evening, The days are already getting longer. This will be my last spring, and that's okay. I've made peace with my fate. I have said goodbye so many times before. Come autumn, I will be gone, like the warm days of summer. The days are already getting longer. Let me be here a bit longer in the last rays of the sun. Okay.
Fucking beautiful. It's just beautifully written here.
Yeah, definitely. The main thing, I've made peace with my fate. Just what? I've made peace with my fate.
I'm going to put this out there.
No, let me put it out there. Okay, I'll put this out there, then you can put that out there.
Alright, fair enough.
And no, this is not. Okay, hold on.
Look, if the comments section wants to join in on what they're putting out there, they can.
So, who is saying goodbye to whom? This is not the living person saying, this is my last spring, that's okay, I'm gonna blah blah. This is, I believe, the parting of the dead soul.
Yes.
So, it is a bit confusing, but I do think that's what it is.
Absolutely.
And this one is the one that has that harsher beat that comes in, and just, that is pounding in this point.
So, basically when you mix those two elements together, right, with what the meaning is and what the music does, you're hearing the last breaths of that person struggling to hold on to life. And that's why the music's chaotic and sporadic and big and loud and bombastic.
Well, you see, they're already dead. This isn't about somebody on their dying bed. They're already
listen.
Yeah.
We're getting that recollection, is what I'm saying, in terms of the music. The person has already, again, like you stated, passed on. They're just remembering what that feeling is, musically. Yeah. So you have this, like, connection between the nostalgic thoughts, yet again.
Because I have said goodbye so many times before.
Right.
It's really unusual. I like this sort of twisting back and forth between the person grieving the dead and the dead grieving that they are gone. Right. I like that. So that pretty much wraps it up. We've got, the lyrics they all kind of tie together, really.
They do. And again, just beautifully performed here. Album art. Very well done.
Yes. Do you know what that
is?
Very
artsy.
What's that called?
That's a weeping willow.
That's a weeping willow. Yeah, weeping willow tree. So,
one of my favorite trees, I might add.
Nice composition. You have the border of the darker foliage in the back and the water, and so it highlights the lighter tree in the center. It's a nicely done photographic composition.
I agree fully. Also, it's very tasteful. The album's style in and of itself is very classic. Got a very retro clean vibe to it.
Very minimal.
Right. We've just got the band logo at the top is small font, along with the album title in small font as well at the bottom. The contrast between the black and white with the white border around, beautifully done. Absolutely perfect, in my opinion.
Well, and the symbolism of the weeping willow, that's kind of cool.
It is indeed. So that leads me to the question. What are you going to score this?
Well, I love this photograph. I think it's great.
Because I'm leaning towards a 10.
I'm leaning there, maybe just slightly under, so I'll just go with the 10 then.
Okay.
What I mean is, I don't see anything at all that you could look at that and say, oh, no. I think it fits. It also fits the music. Because the music is, the lyrics are simplistic. The music is, I guess you would almost call it somewhat minimalistic in its...
Oh, yeah. The approach for it is a laid-back approach to the overall elements. Yeah.
A very quiet way of getting across these sad, dark elements. Yeah, but a quiet way of doing it. Okay.
Again, somber.
Yes. Right.
Well, that's, again, 10 out of 10 art, guys. It's that awesome. Album score. Now, this is probably where, because we might disagree on this, I feel.
Oh, we're gonna disagree on this one. But I mean, overall, okay. So the positives are, it's done very well. The lyrics are great. The sound of the spoken word is fantastic. Fantastic delivery of everything. Overall, as an album, I think it's quite high. However, to me, there's just a little something that's not hitting it for me in the funeral doom category. So I don't know why. So I'm just gonna say 9.
A 9, you say?
Yeah, I'm saying 9.
Don't know about that. Because again, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this great piece of art. You know, it's top tier funeral doom.
I gave the art a 10.
We're now on to the scoring of the entire album. Come on. This is where all the chips fall.
Right. So those were my chips.
Well, I'm saying 10.
Okay, I knew you would.
So I guess that means it's going to come in at a 9.5.
Which I think is very good.
Honestly, look.
We have given other albums that score.
I know, but what I'm saying is, this is an album, guys, that if you are not prepared to have the raw emotion of Funeral Doom delivered, you're gonna probably think this is garbage. But you're wrong. This is exactly what Funeral Doom is, if you were to take its feeling and try and record that feeling. So, with that said, 9.5 out of 10. Just a
very
beautiful album. Beautiful album. Final thoughts. Overall, the different influences in this album are a true welcome into the Funeral Doom genre. And I would honestly like to see the next step of this particular style of music. I would like to see more truer dirge-like notes being utilised. I truly believe this is going to be the next step in Funeral Doom. For the following reasons. If you are a musician, and for whatever reason you cannot find a vocalist, try giving the spoken word element.
There you go. That's great. That's actually a great point.
I think there's a lot to be said about expressing the elements of Funeral Doom in various ways. It is a newer style.
If it's done this well.
Right. It's fairly new. It's probably going to get a lot of hostility, and people are going to argue the point of is it or isn't it. Just a more softer approach, a more ballad-like texture. With that said, it could also have more of the metal elements if it chooses to. Again, there was guitars, bass, and drums utilised. And I know I am sounding very pompous at the moment, but I generally just love this approach. Of course, guys, links in the description to all of the materials as usual. Until next time, mourners, remember, every day is a funeral.